morning. Welcome to... Actually, hang on. Welcome to Osaka. This is our very cool Airbnb. It's massive. It's got a really nice kitchen, record player, 85-inch TV, and this pretty cool rooftop. Although I'm not really sure I'm supposed to be up here. Anyway, in today's video, instead of going straight into the details of the story, I'm actually going to tell you a little bit about why I decided to make it a TV series and what exactly goes into the package that I'm going to be taking to producers and production companies when it's finished. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Also, as a side note, if you haven't watched my first video of the series, I'd go back and watch that because then it'll make everything else make sense and explain exactly why I'm in Japan and what it is I'm writing. And while you're there, if you don't mind subscribing, every subscriber I get just really means the world to me and makes it a lot easier to keep going and putting out the next video. Right, let's carry on. So we are in the lovely Nara Park, but instead of being in the area where all the tourists are, all getting mobbed by the deer wanting to be fed, we're going on a hike. And so far, it's a pretty steep hike. But before we carry on, it's probably worth saying that everything that I'm saying today is how I'm learning to do it and how I'm choosing to do it. It's by no means the correct way. It might be. I don't know, we'll find out. But yeah, this is the way that I'm doing it. If you have any suggestions of ways to improve it, leave a comment down below. But yeah, let's keep going. Right, so the first thing that I had to do was figure out if this was going to be written as a TV series or as a film script. And although, to be honest, it was quite obvious for me right from the beginning that it was going to be a TV series, I still needed to figure out exactly why that was the case. The first part was that my great-great-grandfather, who moved over to Japan, had 11 children. 11. So that means that there are a lot of different characters that I need to follow, different storylines, different opportunities for different elements of the story that could come to light. So telling it as a TV series meant that there was a lot more room to go into detail on that. Whereas if it was a film script, I'd probably have to choose just one. It's a very loud deer. If it was a film script, I'd probably have to choose just one element of it and focus on that. So that was the first part. The second part is that it's... These guys are really loud. The second part was that in today's world, TV series are a lot more common, a lot more popular, and those that are investing in film and TV are choosing to invest in TV series. Those are two factors. There are a few other factors, but to be honest, those made sense to me, and that's why I decided to do it. Hello. Oh. My word, that's unbelievable. Take a look at this. Well, this is quite a view. Beautiful, clear day. Great day for a hike. This is probably a good spot to tell you about the next step in the process. So because it was going to be a TV series and not a film script, it was a little bit different, because with a film script, you just start to write the script and you finish it. And then you have that as a package to go and take to producers or studios. However, with the TV series, there's no point in writing all the episodes if not even one's going to get made. So what you do is you write what's called a treatment. Now, this document needs to be short, sharp, and really interesting, because producers get sent these all the time. So you've got to make sure that it's attention grabbing and that it has a hook right in the beginning, just like you would in the first sentence of a script or a book. Okay, so let's give you a bit of an overview of what goes into a treatment. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of an insight into my one, but I'm not going to give it all away. Also, again, this is just how I'm choosing to do it. I'm sure there are many different ways of how you can achieve this. First off, we have the format. This is essentially stating what type of show it's going to be. Is it going to be a serial drama where each episode leads up to one bigger story, or is it going to be a series where each episode stands on its own? You tend to see this in comedies or those whodunits where there's a murder each episode. Next, we go on to the logline. Now, this is your elevator pitch. It's 1 or 2 sentences that really encapsulates the core premise, the protagonist, the issues that they're going to come into, and it's got to really have a hook. So my logline will be: a British couple and their 11 children living in Japan at the turn of the 20th century are enlisted by the British government to share intel and secrets during a time of tremendous cultural and political transformation. This hopefully sets the scene and entices the reader to want to know more. Next, we go into the synopsis. Now, because I already know that I want to have a season 2 and season 3 and have an idea of what they're going to be, I'm going to focus the synopsis on season 1. This is essentially a page or half a page that expands on your logline and goes into a bit more detail on the premise of the story. In mine, I've also given some references to some current shows to give the reader an idea of the vibe of the show. So for mine, I've said Shogun meets Slow Horses meets Cheaper by the Dozen, which seems like a really weird mix. But essentially, you've got the historical context of Shogun, you've got the spy agent side of Slow Horses, and then you've got the big family and slightly comedic effect with Cheaper by the Dozen. It's hopefully also something that just makes it stand out. Next, I have a note on the period and timeline. Now, this could be to explain the world that you've created or the period that it's set in. And for me, because the historical and political state of Japan at the time is so important to the story, I've used this section to explain that in a bit more detail. Next, we go on to what will be the meat of my treatment, and that is the characters. Especially because I've got so many to get through. This is where I've put in a few paragraphs about each character, detailing who they are, what drives them, what obstacles they're going to come into, and ultimately where their character arc is going to lead them. Here's an example from what I've written about my great-great-grandfather. He is a grounded and proud man. He is deliberate in his actions, but shows a softer side to his family. He is committed to teaching his children the skills to survive in a world that is destined to tear itself apart. I've also chosen to introduce a few anecdotes from the story that will hopefully bring a few of these characters to life. But again, I'm needing to keep this really short and snappy, especially considering I've got so many characters to get through. Next, we go on to the themes and tone. This is to clarify the ideas that the show explores and the emotional flavor of the storytelling. Is it going to be gritty and dark, or is it going to be light and hopeful? Me, I've really put in here that I want it to be more cloak and less dagger, because I want to focus a bit more on the tensions of espionage and being behind enemy lines, as it were, rather than just filled with action scenes and explosions, although there'll probably be a few of those too. Next, and this is a really important part, is why now? What is the audience appeal? Why would somebody want to invest in this show at this particular time? Now, for me, a big theme of the show is family loyalty under pressure. And that is a theme that is really big at the moment with a lot of shows such as Succession, Yellowstone, Peaky Blinders, etc. So I've used those as tentpoles to really show that I believe this show could be a success in this day and age. The next section is going into production acknowledgement. Now, this might be a section that is quite unique to my treatment, but I wanted to include this for 2 reasons. One, this is a period drama, and often period dramas come with huge budgets. You think of the likes of Shogun or The Crown. Second, it's notoriously difficult to film in Japan, and I know that producers will be very conscious of this. So I want to make sure that I acknowledge in here that there might be the need to either use sound stages or shoot in different locations. I cite that although period dramas do often have bigger budgets,
There are certain shows that have utilized strong creative storytelling or creative production design to work off smaller budgets. Next is going into the breakdown of the pilot. Now, I will also be submitting a full first episode, but this just gives the opportunity to break the pilot down into beats or things that happen throughout the episode into short one-liners. Then we go on to the remaining episodes for season 1, and I've given about a paragraph per episode. Finally, we get into a summary of season 2 and a summary of season 3. Now, I don't think you always need to include this, but I have because the timeline has got 2 huge historical moments with World War I and World War II. It feels important to show where I'm going to fit those in the coming seasons. It might not stay like this, but at least it shows that I'm thinking ahead. So far, I've got it to be a 10-page document. I'll have different versions of this, shorter ones, longer ones, things that focus on certain areas such as the production or the characters, to make sure that I've got enough to cover the different conversations that I might have. So I hope that all makes sense. Let's get back to the walk.
Okay, so the next stage is the pitch deck. Now this is going to have quite a lot of the same information as the treatment does, but it's a bit more of a visual representation. It's a pitch deck that I can then use to either send to people or pitch to people that doesn't have a whole load of sentences. It also gives me the opportunity to show what it might look like from a cinematography perspective, but also from what the characters might look like. So again, let's go into a bit more detail about what actually goes into the pitch deck.
Okay, so the pitch deck is pretty similar to the treatment in terms of the sections that are included. This is obviously just an opportunity to make it a lot more visual. So I've been really lucky that a friend of mine has helped out with the design of this to just make it look incredible. Shout out to you, Jake Thompson, thank you. So the areas where I think you can really make it a bit more visual, firstly is the themes and references. This is where you can have a mood board where you start to bring in some images of other shows that are currently popular. I think throughout this whole document, you want to avoid having loads of text and just have those images or visuals that really just make the audience understand straight away. I've also chosen to include an actual mood board of the visuals, where I've gone through some of my favorite shows that I would love to replicate, and I've taken some screen grabs from that to really show what I think the colors could look like, the cinematography, and what the tone of the whole show would be. Next, a part that I really loved doing was doing some lookalikes for what I think the characters could be. Now, during this whole trip, I want to try and find as many actual pictures of the family as possible, but when we're going back to the 1880s, that can be quite tricky. So sometimes I'll just have to imagine it or kind of build out these characters based on the traits that I know that they did have. In mine, I've chosen to use some characters that already exist in popular shows, and I've also utilized AI to try and imagine and showcase what I think they would look like. That was really fun, but also a little bit spooky. Again, I'm gonna have multiple versions of this document because there'll be times when I have 1 minute to pitch it, and there'll be times when I have an hour to pitch it. Probably never an hour. But I want to have different sections that I can flip to really quickly and get my point across without having to stumble and go through stuff that isn't as important. I'm not gonna show you any of mine, but I am gonna show you the front page because when I first saw it, it just blew my mind and it made me so excited for this project. So, here it is. That makes me very excited and inspires me to just keep going, keep writing, and make this thing happen.
Beware of bears. And snakes. What exactly are you meant to do if you find a bear?
Give them the necessities. You're supposed to make yourself as big as possible. Okay. The final piece of this puzzle, this package that I'm putting together, is then the actual first episode, the pilot, as it's called. I believe it's called the pilot because it's what helps you get on air. Because back in the day, you used to make just the pilot, you would actually get that made, and then you would try and get the funding to create the rest of the series. But streaming services have changed the game a bit, and now they tend to buy the full package rather than just the first episode. However, it's still important to write the first episode so people can get an idea of what the tone of the script's going to be and how it's going to start out. And that's where I'm at. I'm busy writing the first episode, and it's going pretty well, but there's still a few bits that I need to figure out, hence why I'm in Japan. So those are the three elements that I'll be packaging together to try and take to studios, producers, and anybody who will really listen to me, to be honest. That's the end of our walk and the end of the video. Please subscribe and follow along for the journey. I've got many more videos to come. See you in the next episode.